I guess you could say we broke up because of artistic differences. He saw himself as alive, and I saw him dead. They had it coming.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. Here's the thing I can't square about the current ongoing crisis with Jeffrey Epstein and the Trump administration is utterly predictable. And let me tell you, I work with this administration and various elements of it every single day. We do a live stream. We had administration officials on the show every single week. I know them well. They're sharp people. They're not dumb. This was easy to predict because Jeffrey Epstein matters to culture. Whether you like it or not, Jeffrey Epstein is a meme. You can find people saying Epstein didn't kill himself on NFL sideline videos and so on and so forth. The single most viral and best roast of Hollywood in existence happened in 2020. Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes.
About a man who wants to kill himself because his wife dies of cancer. And it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way. So in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care. You like to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you?
Still just completely legendary. Remember the reactions of Hollywood, by the way? When Gervais did this? Just the people you'd expect, actually, are very upset. Look at this. Look at the faces. The shame. The horror. Leo howling with laughter, right? What's going on? What's happening? Very telling, actually. It's a great roast, but the reason why it's so funny, 5 years ago in 2020, the Epstein murder in prison was such a meme, and that he had compromised Hollywood celebrity culture, political celebrity culture, billionaire celebrity culture, that it was a raging joke at the awards show. Of course, manipulated perfectly by Ricky Gervais there. Now, it hasn't lost its steam. That's what's amazing about moments like this, is that actually the way that information is shared, people are more interested in Epstein than ever right now. You can check the search trends. It's incredible. It's not going away, right? It's not going away. And neither are the allegations that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, right? He didn't kill himself. That's the joke that makes Tom Hanks go, had to come here on my own plane. Everybody says Jeffrey Epstein didn't murder himself. Everyone. Including, well, the only person doing prison time for the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein was Ghislaine Maxwell.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered. Well, I was shocked. And I wondered how it had happened. Because as far as I was concerned, he was going to... I was sure he was going to appeal.
So he's going to appeal. I mean, it was the days before his trial, the days before discovery in his trial. Man, even the people who were Epstein's lawyer at the time says he didn't kill himself.
One last question. Do you think that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
No, of course not. Well, he didn't kill himself without the help of some people. He did kill himself, but he killed himself with the help of guards. He didn't do it by himself. He couldn't have done that. Obviously, though, the videos were turned off, and the guards turned their back, and his cellmate left. So I think he killed himself, but he killed himself with the assistance of some people in law enforcement.
So here's a great question. Epstein's lawyer at the time, Alan Dershowitz, says obviously the guards helped him die inside of this prison. And threads like this one, which is just such an excellent breakdown of what happened inside of this jail cell tier block, prove definitively, one, that the government is lying and they're not giving us the correct information. The camera angle that they gave us doesn't even show Jeffrey Epstein's tier block. It does actually show a ton of people going in and out of the prison. And more importantly, why was there so many linens given to a guy on suicide watch? Why was he left alone? The guard station looked directly at Epstein's cell. You can see footage of the guards escorting Epstein to his cell. They clearly knew who he was, and the camera angle shows no one The camera angle shows the entry to the floor, not to Epstein's tear block, meaning anybody could have entered Epstein's tear block without being seen on this camera. I mean, we've done like full hour-long breakdowns of this. I encourage you to go read for yourself, but you'll see beyond a shadow of a doubt, the information the government's giving you is a lie. And the information that Dersh is saying there is true. That the guards would have had to help him and get paid off to turn the cameras off, to fall asleep, to give him some extra linens, to let the serial strangler that was his cellmate do the deed and break his neck bones, something that is impossible to do by yourself. You can't break your own neck bones with your own strength. Your body doesn't even contort that way, right? No, it's right. It makes a ton of sense. I sincerely encourage you to go look at all the evidence. Here is Epstein. This is Epstein being taken to his cell by the guards. Here it is right here. What were they telling him? Have we ever interviewed the guards? Has anybody ever investigated them? What did they see that night? Nothing. We don't got nothing, right? Now we have some very chilling. Don't you love it? Don't you love it when it's Inception, right? The New York Post is using an old video from our show. Okay, got it. From 2023. This one's going viral right now. Well, we've been on this story for a while. Jeffrey Epstein's chilling final message before his death revealed. Actually gave a preview of what was about to happen to him. How did Epstein know? Look at these photos of Epstein's cell. Isn't it insane? Why was a guy on suicide watch given this many linens? How is it physically? Of course, it's not physically possible. This interview is the last message that he ever sent, according to Michael Wolff. He's an author, and he's one of these like little celebrity authors, right? That goes and tells these little deep dive stories, okay, to people. And he was writing a story on Epstein, and he was friends of Epstein. He has a ton of proof of that. And he says that Epstein told him, this in his final words.
When did you last talk to him? So you were due to meet him for lunch the day after, or breakfast the day after he was arrested. When did you last speak to him?
I believe that I got the last message from him before he died.
And what was that message?
And this came through one of his lawyers, and on a Friday evening, he died on Saturday morning,
August the 10th.
Yes, and he died theoretically by hanging himself. And his message to me, hours before this happened, was. And it was just in response to me asking, how he was. And he said, still hanging around.
He literally said, still hanging around. And do you think that was a coded message?
No, I don't know. I mean, it was in character. Everything that he said was cast in amusing, unserious, ironic. I'm not sure I ever quite heard him say utter an entirely serious sentence.
So you mean it was sort of heavy with irony?
Yes, or it was just blithe. And remember, just prior to this, about a week before, 10 days before, he had apparently tried to hang himself. And then there was some question of whether this really had happened or he was just trying to go to the infirmary. So there was, hanging himself was in the part of the moment.
So what happens next, ladies and gentlemen? Does Michael Wolff believe that Epstein killed himself? Again, we have everybody on the record who was close to Epstein, including his lawyer and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, saying, no, he didn't. What does Michael Wolff think? He was obviously doing some deep dive reporting with Epstein. Apparently he has hundreds of hours of interviews with Epstein. Boy, it'd be probably a great time to release those to the world, Michael Wolff, if you are in fact telling the truth. Anyway, the point is, is that here's what he says about what he believes happened in Epstein's cell.
So do you believe he did hang himself, or do you believe that he was killed?
I don't believe that that he could have killed himself in the way that the conclusion is that he would have had to have killed himself, essentially to have broken his own neck. I don't believe that could have happened. At the same time, I do not believe that that something nefarious happened and the half a dozen U.S. attorneys and at least as many FBI agents who would have been close enough to this to know at least some part of the nefarious thing, that they would have had to keep quiet, and those people don't keep quiet.
So what does that mean?
I don't know. So that means he could not, as described, he could not have killed himself. As the circumstances presented, he could not have been murdered.
So how do you think he died?
I have no idea. I mean...
Well, and we're clearly not going to find out anything more from the Department of Justice.
Clearly not. And again, remember, and I think I think it is vital to understand this story, that there is at the center of this a relationship between two men who are doing the same, just involved in the same thing, who are living their similar lives. They have the same interests: girls, money, not working, living this sybaritic life, and one ends up dead in the darkest prison in America, and one ends up in the White House.
Will we ever know? Somebody knows, like it will. This is turning into the JFK thing. Like eventually the government's going to be forced to release everything, and people are going to break, and they're going to come out, and they're going to say what happened. So it's like probably best like be the ones who tell the truth right now. Right? I'll end with this. The most definitive interview ever done on all this. Who would know best? Well, not some dumbass guard or somebody who like saw Jeffrey Epstein go into or out of his cell, but absolutely the doctor who did the autopsy. This is what they say, right? Dead men tell no tales. Meaning when you have the body there in front of you, it's going to tell you what actually happened. It's going to be, it's going to be pretty hard to disguise that, especially when you have a nonpartisan doctor who is simply reading the data. Dr. Baden told exactly the data and the breakdown of what truly happened. Epstein was murdered. To Tucker Carlson. Here you go.
So Dr. Michael Baden, who participated or was present at the autopsy, has participated in over 1,000 autopsies of prison deaths.
I have never seen 3 fractures like this in a suicidal hanging. Going over 1,000 jail hangings, suicides in the New York City state prisons over the past 40, 50 years, no one had 3 fractures.
His fairly firm conclusion is that this was not a suicide. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. He was holding off on that determination, pending determination of how the body was found, which we finally, now that they say the way the body was found, it just only shows that it was not that way. The autopsy shows it's not that way, which further convinced Dr. Baden that this was not a hanging, not a suicide.